Hello, my name is Todd Davidson, and today I'm with Francesco Bucci. We're going to talk about the song that he just released, Letter to God, from his upcoming album, Letters. We're going to talk a little bit about your creative process and your history, where you're from, how you got here, and what might be next. How are you feeling today?
Feeling good.
Good.
Really good.
Ready to talk about this?
I'm ready.
Cool. Let's do it. Tell me something. Now, you were born in Italy. What part of Italy were you born in?
You know where the Leaning Tower is?
Pisa.
Yeah. By the way, everybody thinks that Tuscany is a little place hidden away where all the vineyards and winding roads go. Tuscany is actually the region. Italy has got 21 regions, and one of them is Tuscany, one of the biggest ones. The biggest or the second biggest one. Pisa is one of the main cities in Tuscany. In fact, a lot of people say, I've been to Pisa, but I've never been to Tuscany. Well, it's like you're saying, I've been to California, I've been to Los Angeles, but I've never been to California. It's kind of the same thing.
So you've been out here in sunny San Diego for how long?
17 years.
17. But you've been recording original music for a long time. I remember you showed me some things you recorded maybe 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, 10 years ago. I've been writing songs forever. Actually, I remember the first song that I wrote was when I was 7 years old, and I was sick at home, and I wrote a song, the title of which was Tirrenia, my hometown. I was 7 years old.
That's awesome. That's so cool. But these recent songs you recorded in a studio back in Italy with a friend of yours. And tell me the name of the studio and the name of the engineer.
So the friend and engineer, his name is Marco Natali. The studio is actually in the middle of Tuscany. It's called Pieve Nievole, which is very difficult to pronounce for people that are not from Italy.
Let me try. Okay, what's the name?
Do that. Do it. Pieve Nievole.
Pieve Nievole.
Almost.
Pieve Nievole. So this last song that you released is called Letter to God.
That's right.
I had the pleasure of helping you with the video, the music video for this. And I love the song. I think the video turned out pretty good too. But I love the song. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration and maybe the story behind the song.
This first song, Letter to God, and tries to define who God is, or to find out who God is. I always think this way. If you had 10 children, not too old, 5, 6 years old, and you ask them, here's a piece of paper, and you got some colors, pencils, paint God. The way you see it. You know, children are powerful.
Yeah.
They don't have much influence yet. Somebody might say, okay, here's God, and it looks like an older man with a beard, with a white beard. Somebody may say, okay, here's God, and he looks like my mom. Somebody might say, okay, I just drew the image of God, and here it is. It looks like a flower to me. Somebody else can say, okay, it looks like the sky. Now I say, who has the power among us adults to say you're wrong? So with this song and with this whole project, I'm trying to see things like God would see them, and think about it. What if God is a flower? What if God is a flower and then sees the world like a flower, from the perspective of a flower? What I want to say is that this project, the whole thing, is trying to shake things up a little bit. The overall purpose of this project is to give another perspective on things. By the way, Letter to God was the first rough track of the song was done here
Yes, that's right.
Because we always work like, okay, in studio, you do something that is like la 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 la, and then it goes into the
I remember
blender.
Francesco came here,
Yeah.
and he said, "I've got this song, I don't have the lyrics yet." He played it on the piano and just kind of hummed the melody, maybe sang some phonetic ideas, and then later on you were able to flesh that out and get the lyrics written. And it's cool to hear the final product, because I had only heard the scratch idea, the rough draft.
If you ask me, Todd, when did you come up with the title letters? I don't know. I truly don't remember. I don't know when I decided to call this project Letters.
Have you ever created a song and finished it and said, "Nah, I changed my mind. I don't want to release it"?
Well, 99 out of 100 songs that I create end up being like that.
Yeah. I can relate to that. It's like Prince in Prince's vault. He's got apparently thousands of songs that he never released. Creations that didn't make the cut.
And creations that didn't make it because they got old. That's what Prince said. They got old. I mean, I don't relate to them anymore. In fact, you cannot stretch it out for too long. An album is an album now. In 2 years, it's not an album anymore. For everybody else is, but not for the artist.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Never thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of sense. So, kids, the lesson at home is don't put things off too long. They'll get stale. So do you have a vault of unused ideas?
Of course.
So,
I use my cell phone to record myself, and my trash can is full of songs.
yeah, that's great. Do you remember when we were kids, we would go to the record store and we would buy an album, and there was, the artwork or the photo of the band, and sometimes it would come with a book. You kids don't remember this. We would take the record out, put it down on the turntable, put it on, and listen to the whole thing, the whole first side all the way through, looking at the pictures, the words, and the book if it had one, and flip the record over and listen to the second side, and we would really become engulfed in the experience of this album. The album would have a continuity, which was a certain vibe, and that vibe was, of course, decided upon by the producers and by the artists, but it would take us somewhere. I don't see a lot of people doing that nowadays. Nowadays, we're like a one-song kind of, one shot, one song, or even a small portion of a song. Go on TikTok, and you get 15 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah, this TikTok, Instagram thing is very, in many ways, annoying, personally. It annoys me. This 15-second thing, or 30 seconds, or even Spotify, they don't allow, like, you remember Pink Floyd?
Yeah.
Endless intros, but then when the first, very short lyrics, but every single word was like, oh my god, I got the chills, because I was so prepared to this sound, the atmosphere was so ready for the 5 words.
Right.
That no, it doesn't happen anymore. We're actually trying, Marco and myself are trying to, we keep the idea of an album in mind as we go, song after song after song after song. And because at the end, this will be an album, more than one. A whole project will be probably, I want to say it, 3 albums, 3 parts. And so we have to acknowledge a certain evolution in the sound. Mm-hmm. It's a journey again. I like this word. But at the same time, it cannot be. We cannot have too many gaps in the sound. I'm talking about the sound.
Well, it's sort of the continuity of the sound of this particular album.
Definitely.
I liked what you were talking about before, how if you go back and you create another album, maybe you'll use a different drum set, different instrumentation, but it becomes a little bit disconnected if there's too much of that within one album. And I always loved listening to an album, and then you get an artist's second album or third album, and it's completely different. But it is its own experience, and I like that you have a general concept for this upcoming release. So how many songs have you recorded now for this upcoming
I have
album?
7 recorded. I think before I release all of them, I will record more because I have to kind of bridge some gaps. Again, this is a project that is creating itself as we go. I have, like I said, a general idea of where I want to go, and I have a clear idea for the last song. But every single song brings me to the next one, and sometimes I need some more substance in order to get to the next point. So I will create it. It's like when you go, you're on the path. You see that there's a path over there, but you have to reach that path.
Yeah, and I can imagine finishing previous songs inspires new ones.
Exactly.
You can't just jump forward. It's that whole thing is a creative process. I loved what we were talking about in the recording studio, and we may have said it early on. It's a sanctuary when you're there creating the recording.
Absolutely.
And you can go there and be there for 14 hours and not even realize it.
I have some of the best memories of my life in studio, and I don't have like a huge career, but I've spent a lot of time in studio, and every time I go to Italy, I see my mom, I see my brother, I see my nephew, and before I see my cousins, I see the studio. I see Marco.
Yeah.
It's
priorities.
And also here. This is a studio, and when I came here, I see this. It's an experience, and then, like I was saying, it's everything that goes with it. Because you leave the studio, you keep talking about. By the way, musicians are very creative people. Also, when they touch on other topics, like if they have to fix a bicycle, they use the same mindset.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible how, and when they sometimes it happens. Oh, we cannot go out, or studios. Hours are pretty unusual. Sometimes you get hungry at 2 a.m. and you don't have anywhere to go to, and so you have to cook something. And artists become creative, even though they're not chefs or cooks.
Right.
They do something.
And I like to think that they exercise their creative mind. When you do something enough, you become good at it. It's like when a little kid takes the phone from you and says, "Oh, it goes like this," and it's really easy for them because they do it all the time. Playing an instrument or recording or doing anything creative, I think, exercises your creative mind, and so those types of processes are just easier, naturally easier, because it's like going to the gym and you work out and your muscles get bigger and you get stronger. Same thing with working out your creative brain. It's a lot of problem solving, trying to figure out what chords go with what and what lyrics work that are not too hokey or not too esoteric or not too provocative, or maybe not provocative enough. There's a lot going on during that process.
Like in certain parts, you really want to say certain things. Like a song is a small place, a small space of action. So you have to be really selective, and yet certain parts of a song have to be pretty prominent in order to be. It's a song, and you have to like it quickly, but at the same time you have to see certain things. I could write a song and I could write a book on that song.
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing, but it's the same thing.
Right. That's amazing to think about, because you really could write a book on one song that might be 3 minutes long. Yeah. What are your thoughts on someone getting out of their comfort zone so they can grow?
It's crucial. that tool, which is my cell phone sitting right there on the couch, is a shortcut for to too many things. I mean, I utilize it, just like everybody does. I mean, I work in the restaurant industry, and I spend many hours every single day around people, and many times, it's very often that I see people sitting at the same table and playing on different tools.
Yeah.
And I make a joke, hey
they're not
guys,
even
you guys
together.
texting each other.
Yeah.
But it's like if we pause for a moment and I sit on the couch, I might reach out to my phone and see what, but that takes away from the experience.
Right.
I have a lot of things to look at right here. And 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I could not be distracted. I had to be attracted by what's around me, what surrounds me. Now it's just that tool takes you away from many things. So the message here is young or less young people, just be focused more on what's going on yourself than on what somebody up there offers you. Because that's not the only option, I promise. Yeah, you're really good at doing this, but it's not the only option to live a beautiful life.
It's taking away from productive time, but it's also taking away from time for you to be able to daydream. And that's where ideas come from. You have to be able to get bored to be creative. If you're sitting somewhere and you think you want to look at your phone and you think, I'm kind of bored right now, be bored. Stay there for a little bit and see what happens. You might come up with a new idea.
You have a notepad right next to you.
Yeah. I remember when when we first met you, I think we had only known you about a month or so. And there was a grand piano in the Hillcrest restaurant. And there was some sort of party or celebration. I don't remember what it was. It might have just been, welcome to Papaleco, we're going to have a party. But there were a lot of people in there. I mean, it was packed. It was packed. Francesco was in the back playing a grand piano. There were people just surrounding him. It was just such a cool vibe. I'm sure I've got video of this somewhere. And you were in your element. You were in your comfort zone. Rosario was there. He was singing along. And I thought that was so cool. That was one of my first impressions of you. And you being an entrepreneur, but also a creative person, being able to perform. And I think you played some original stuff, but you also played some traditional Italian music. So much fun. We had a good time. And then later, I came and I played accordion. It was for one of the events. I think it was a wine tasting.
Wine tasting.
Yeah.
There's some pictures of that event.
Yeah. What happened to the piano? You don't have a piano in the restaurant anymore.
No. In fact, we don't even have the restaurant anymore. But which is great. I mean, it's just life that goes. Now that piano is in my apartment.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I saved it. and it actually saved me. I had two pianos. One of them is we business as a business had two pianos. One is in another restaurant, and I took that one because unfortunately they didn't like me playing piano in the middle of the night.
Oh, so you would go there after hours to...
Yeah, because that was the only piano I had at that time, and that was, I mean, I couldn't write songs. I was surrounded by people. I could play, but not write songs. Make mistakes and, you know, scream and yell and do things that everybody does when they're creating.
And that's something that people should understand. If you're not a songwriter, songwriting is a very private process. Mm-hmm. It's not until, at least for me and a couple of other artists I know, it's not until you've refined the idea to the point where you feel like it's arranged that you can play it in front of anyone else. It's almost embarrassing before it's done, because you're still reaching for ideas.
Yes, unless you are surrounded by people, one or two people that you know really well, and you know that they couldn't care less about you.
Yeah, no judgment.
Like my mom. There was I don't know if I'm being very accurate about this story, but in the story, it doesn't have to be a true story. It has to be a beautiful story. Somebody used to say back in Italy. But the story, true or non-true, is that this prominent Nobel Prize winner writer, I think he fired or something, like one of his assistants, just because she was looking at some notes that he had on the desk. And come on, that's not my final work. I don't know, whatever, not the right word, not the right punctuation. I just jotted down something.
Yeah.
And that's me. That's just between me and myself. Don't look at it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very personal thing, that process. And when you're working with a band, it's a little bit different because you have to throw ideas back and forth. But even in a band situation, the first idea usually comes from one person.
It usually does. I mean, I've worked and written many songs with my brother, essentially the only person that I've worked in the songwriting process with. And so we became almost like, there's of course he's a brother, and naturally there's a mutual understanding. We grew up together. We're almost same age.
Right.
But like, I think it was John Lennon or Paul McCartney said, but Ringo was not a better drummer. He was a better Beatle.
Yeah.
Because it's something that goes. The band has a overall soul. Like it's the fusion of the people that create the band. In fact, many artists play with the same band for many years, and then when the band, for whatever reason, falls apart, they almost think about Queen.
Yeah.
There was an experience when Freddie Mercury decided to go solo, but then after a while he came back humbly, begging them to, hey, guys, I'll do whatever you guys want, but let's get back together.
Yep. Yeah, when you have something good, you got to hang on to it. But I think we all go through that, thinking, I might be able to do this better. Part of it is our ego, which is, I mean, maybe it's a survival technique, I don't know. There's a good book, if I can endorse this book, called Ego is the Enemy. I highly recommend reading that.
I'll go for it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Sometimes it's hard to let go of our ideas that we've come up with, thinking they have to be the best. We came up with it. But then, as you mentioned about some songs, 2 years later, you look back and you say, I have better ideas.
2 hours later.
2 hours sometimes. Cool. Well, thank you for talking with me.
It was a great pleasure.
Yeah, this was great, getting to know a bit of background, your history, and also a bit of background on your music and your creative process and how you got here. I'm looking forward to the release of Letter to God and to the collection, the album, Letters. and to see what comes next.
Thank you, Todd.
Cool. Thank you, Francesco.
Thank you so much.